Good afternoon. Welcome to Northwest Presbyterian Church. My name is James Kohler. I'm the director of music here through today, unfortunately. But welcome. This is the end of our fall season of 2022, our free concert series at Northwest. We're glad that you're joining us in person. Some are still coming in. And if you're online, we welcome you. And this is Northwest. We're going to give you a really new experience tonight. We are featuring our digital Allen organ in a theater mode. And so you'll be seeing a silent film. And we are thrilled to welcome Ken Double from the Atlanta Fox Theater, the resident organist there. So without further ado, let's welcome him, and he will be your MC and concert performer tonight. So welcome, Ken Double.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, or almost good evening, and let me add my welcome to you all and tell you what a thrill it is to be here at Northwest Presbyterian Church, and let me forewarn all of you fine music appreciation people. This is absolutely not going to be a recital, very barely going to be a concert. We're going to kind of turn this into Buckhead's version of the mini Fox Theater and present the organ in a very different way. And also, let's see if we can just entertain you and open your mind to things like We Need a Little Christmas. We're also going to enjoy doing what the theater organ did in its heyday, and that is make music for silent film. We're going to have a little Laurel Hardy here in just a little bit. But before we get into the next tune, and I'll tell you, I just celebrated my 70th birthday. If I don't write it down, thank you. November 6th. If I don't write it down, I don't remember anything anymore. So the next tune is going to be real pretty. And again, we'll show off some of the more interesting voices. We'll get into the voices we've discovered in this organ a little bit later on. This is a pretty thing called the Christmas Waltz. Thank you very much. The Christmas Waltz. We're going to do a different kind of waltz. This is a piece I discovered, golly, probably 45 years ago. And I heard it on public radio. A magnificent waltz, not by Strauss or any of the other waltz kings, but by a composer by the name of Julius Fuchik. And I'm driving along. I've got public radio on in Indianapolis, Indiana, where I was living and working at the time. And I heard this magnificent piece. And I thought, that would be wonderful on the pipe organ. And so, do you think I could find anything in terms of music? And so I called my organist friend Dwight Thomas, who was studying at Indiana University at the time. I paid him $250 to write out the melody lines and the chord symbols and a couple of hints and ideas on what to do with the pedal. And from that, and listening to the orchestration over and over again, I've developed this arrangement of a tune that I'm happy to play here. But if I were playing today anywhere in upstate New York, I would have taken it out of the program. It's Julius Fuchik, who wrote the Entry of the Gladiators and all kinds of other wonderful music. This is his Winter Storms. Mind you, you will hear the announcement of the storm. You will then get into full winter mode. You will also have the opportunity to hear and visualize skaters on the ice. And in knowing that Fuchik was a visionary and could see the future, you will also at some point in time hear what clearly are the snow plows running down Main Street right now in Buffalo, New York, or Hennepin Avenue in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Here is Winter Storms. Julius Fuchik's wonderful winter storms. Fortunately, we don't live in Buffalo. Although, in my history, from 1992 to 94, I lived in Atlanta, and I was the voice of the then Atlanta Knights hockey team. And I clearly remember March of 1994. Bring back any memories? 14 inches of snow fell almost overnight on a Friday night, Saturday. Fortunately, it melted by Monday, but it certainly was a reminder that I was seemed more like my hometown Chicago than it seemed like Atlanta at that point in time. Before we get to the silent film, we're going to play something that I wrestled with as to whether this would be appropriate or not. Fortunately, church officials said, "Oh, that's all right. we're just having fun today. So we have found some very unusual fun combinations. These are combinations. This is the combination action that sets all the pistons and sets all the sounds to play a tune made very famous in an almost naughty manner. Eartha Kitt's great hit, Santa Baby. Santa Baby. We're going to move now to Laurel and Hardy, and a wonderful, hilarious silent film as only Laurel and Hardy could present them. And it's an interesting thing that we do, who play theater organ and make music for silent films, and that is try to take the whole thing into the background. Now imagine talkies, imagine famous films, maybe some of your favorites, and think of Casablanca without "You Must Remember This." Think of Jaws without dun 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 dun. And so music always was an important part of the film experience. You go back now to the 19-teens, and the film industry was growing rapidly. The films were now great stories, and the theaters were getting bigger and bigger and bigger until we got 6,000 seats, almost over 5,000 seats at the Atlanta Fox in 1929. And so the need for music grew. A little piano player sitting in the pit wasn't going to cut it, and it was very difficult for the theater operators to get an orchestra, whether it's 8, 10, or 12 pieces, or 20 or 30 or 60 that were in the pit at the Atlanta Fox in 1929 when it opened, to be able to coordinate the music for a movie, particularly when the films were changing twice a week. So thus was born the need for the horseshoe-shaped console with the stop tabs instead of draw knobs, like we have at the Atlanta Fox Theater, and we're in thousands and thousands and thousands of theaters all over the country. And so the theater organ was born to make music for silent film. The idea being you create themes either for scenes or for characters. And then you do everything you can to disappear into the background. The greatest compliment we are paid is very simple. I forgot you were there. If we get that, we know we've achieved our goal. With comedies, you can have a little more leeway. It's interesting, two great theater organists ended up big time in film. Oliver Wallace came out of Seattle, Washington, and ended up with the Disney Company. And Dumbo and Fantasia and many of the big Disney films from the era of the late 30s and 40s and early 50s were scored or the music put together by the great Oliver Wallace. Later, and now, see, I should have written the name down. Anyway, out of Kansas City came whatever, but if you have watched any of the great Warner Brothers cartoons, Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck and all that, that music was done by a theater organist out of Kansas City who got hired by Warner Brothers to make music for their cartoons, and he did it brilliantly. And thus, taking the idea of the cartoon, it's okay to sneak in a familiar theme or a familiar song. Generally speaking, we don't want you thinking about the music. We just want you watching the movie. And so that's a little bit of what we will do over the next 18 or 19 minutes as we try and provide music to our two heroes who always manage to get into the most amazing difficulties. In this case, they're just simply going door to door trying to sell Christmas trees. This is Laurel and Hardy in a wonderful, funny movie, Big Business. Well, if that doesn't get you in the holiday spirit, I don't know what will. Always silly, always over the top. I have a favorite Laurel and Hardy entitled Two Tars, and they're two sailors on leave. And there isn't any film in the modern era that you've seen bust up a bunch of cars that would match Two Tars. But anyway, love to play Laurel and Hardy. I think they're hilarious, and we hope you enjoyed Big Business. Now, back to a more normal holiday tone. We'll put a couple of favorites together. Thank you very much. I'll be home for Christmas and White Christmas, and even though we're leading into Thanksgiving, at least we're not doing this right after Labor Day like they do at Walmart and elsewhere. The next thing we're going to do is the closing selection in the concert. And before we get there, some thank yous for sure. First of all, to the very soon to be moving on to hopefully bigger and better and greater things after wonderful service here at Northwest Presbyterian Church. Dr. James Kohler, we wish him very well. Thank you for the invitation to come. But I mentioned the sounds in the organ. We play, in this instance, the draw knobs, which are different than the stop tabs that I have at Mighty Mo. But buried in this fabulous Allen organ are the hidden voices that you can access by extra pistons that bring on Genesis system voices. That's the Allen magic, which expands the ability to find sounds. So that pretty bell, that's a Genesis voice. That really snarly post-horn reed, that's a Genesis voice. I have no access to any of those things because I play the stops, except for the fact that your incredibly talented organist, Mauro Ranka, came to the rescue and babysat me through rehearsal after rehearsal so I could get the pistons set to get the sounds I needed to try and make this theater organist, this old sportscaster who never played at church. I had 10 years of organ lessons, but don't play the piano. If they hung me for being a pianist, they'd hang an innocent man. No Bach in these fingers, and yet this is an instrument much more suited to Bach than Santa Baby. But a big thank you to Mauro for making this all happen and making the music happen, and appreciate his great talents and what he can do on this magnificent Allen organ. And as we say our thank yous to all the staff and all the people here at the church that made this so much fun, we save the most important thank you for you folks and those who might be viewing online through the magic of the World Wide Web, because why go through the rehearsals and finding out what might work, finding out just how far we can bend the liturgical rules to play some music at a concert here, if there aren't appreciative people sitting in the house that enjoy the fine music and enjoy this great church and enjoy this wonderful organ. So, the number one thank you goes to all you people. Thank you so much for sharing your afternoon with me, and we're going to close with a much more traditional piece for this particular instrument. Do you hear what I hear? And we'll hope to see you all again very, very soon. Thanks so much for coming out. It's been a pleasure.
you.